As much as I love hearing the sounds of all of you reminisce, I think we're going to go ahead and get this program started. What do you think? How's the meal? Everybody happy? Yay, that's great. Thank you to Sodexo again for a wonderful job. Everybody full? Anybody save me a piece of chocolate cake? Thank you again to Brent. Beautiful job, as always, on the guitar. So we'll go, yes, let's do that. Yes. So let's go ahead and get started with our program this evening. And I know that there are several people here tonight that have other events they're going to even after this one. So it's a busy weekend for all of us. Or maybe you just want to rest up for tomorrow because we have another day full of activities. How many people went on the campus tour today? Yay! How was it? You guys have a good time? Yay, that's great. That's great. I'm so glad to hear it. Did the campus change at all since you were here? How about that science complex? Is that something to behold? What about the residential colleges? Did they look just like the ones you stayed in? Well, good. I'm so glad you all enjoyed that. So our mission as an alumni association at Murray State University is to connect and to celebrate and to engage our Racer alumni all across the world, just like we're doing tonight. Give you a chance to not only engage with the institution, but with each other. You are the keepers, along with us, at the university and at the Alumni Association, the protectors and the promoters of the Murray State tradition. How many of you still remember today the traditions that either started or were in play when you were students at Murray State? Are there things that you remember that were special to the campus? Today, our students would say Racer 1, running the track at the football games. They would say all campus sing, which I bet, raise your hand if you were in all campus sing. Wonderful. They would say the shoe tree. The shoe tree, does anybody remember that from when you were students? It wasn't here. Okay. 71, okay. See, we've always heard that it started in the 60s, but we can't find any documentation of that. So if you know somebody that actually started the shoe tree, have them call me. We'd like to know the beginnings of it. There are lots of different theories, but no proof that we've been able to find yet. So the shoe tree is another thing that our current students would talk about as the shoe tree. Oh, well, yes, you wouldn't know if it wasn't here in 1970. So the shoe tree, let's tell you about the shoe tree. It's one of my favorite traditions at Murray State. If you make your way on campus at all before the end of the weekend and you go out on the quad, you all remember that part of campus, there's a tree that has shoes nailed to the entirety of it. And what happened was when a couple would meet at Murray State and fall in love, they would get married and they would nail their shoes to the tree. So there are all of these shoes nailed to the tree. Amber, you remember. There are now also families who will nail their babies' shoes to the tree near theirs when they come back to campus. Now here's the problem. A tree doesn't live forever with a lot of nails in it, does it? So I'm going to be honest, we're on like tree number 4. But I think at the university we're in talks with making some type of permanent installation at some point that will be able to remain in place and we can be good stewards of the land. At the same time, though, it's a pretty neat tradition. Each year in February, the Alumni Association hosts something that we call Racer Soulmates. Soul like the sole of a shoe, S-O-L-E. And those are the people who met at Murray State, fell in love, got married, and are continuing the Racer tradition. So that's the shoe tree. Great question. I hope you'll get to see it sometime when you're on the quad. So those are the types of traditions that you and I hold dear and are responsible for maintaining for the next generation. Those are things that today's students will want to maintain for their next generation of students. So with your help, we maintain all of the unique qualities and culture that made Murray State University and continue to make Murray State University the finest place we know. We work to foster lifelong relationships with the alumni and among our alumni and support the university's efforts to continue providing the most top-notch education for future racers for the next 50 years and for decades to come. So tonight, with your friends and classmates, I want you to know that you are breathing life into that mission. So please, give yourselves a round of applause for coming back and being with us this weekend. So now I would like to introduce our friend and someone that probably needs no introduction among you. That is your classmate of 1970, the Reverend John Dale. If he will come forward and provide us with some encouraging words, some inspiration, maybe a story or two, we welcome to the podium Mr. John Dale.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to get to be here. When Dr. Jackson said that I was a minister, some of you said, I need to get out of here before the speeches start. I understand, I really do. But a message, in order to be immortal, does not need to be eternal. So, in fact, I found that on the pulpit one Sunday. Someone just wrote me a nice note. Another Sunday, I got up there and it said, there's a card that said, fool. That's all it said. So I picked it up and looked on the back. That's it. Fool. F-O-O-L. And so I said, well, in my 50-plus years of preaching, I have received several letters that did not have signatures. Today I received the signature without the letter. Okay, that really didn't happen to me. That was somebody else. I'm really glad to get to be here because I decided to make my presentation brief. And you realize that when any minister says that, you don't have any idea what that means. He doesn't. And if he looks at his watch, it means absolutely nothing. But I came here in 1968 to begin my graduate program. I had already been to 2 colleges and graduated. I'd been warned in both of those schools, they were church related. I'd been warned about public education, secular colleges. Get ready because it's totally different. Well, there were some differences. We didn't have Bible classes here. And I'd had lots of those. I was a Bible major and speech minor, and so I came here to get my master's degree in communication. And I started in summer of 68, and I finished when some of you did in 70, graduating in May, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I had some very interesting experiences, some of which I will not discuss. But I learned a great deal here that I couldn't have learned in a cloister somewhere. There were some things that I was subjected to that I'd never seen before, and I'm not sorry. I really am not sorry, because in the real world out there where we all live, there are lots of things that are not covered. As Mark Twain said, they politely skipped over this in seminary, and there's much to be said for that. But one of the things that had just happened before I got here was the inauguration of Dr. Harry Sparks to the presidency. That happened while many of you were students here. It had already happened when I got here. I got to know him and thoroughly appreciated and enjoyed him very, very much. As Dr. Jackson mentioned earlier, those were the years when there was a lot of uprising on campuses. And some of you might remember some of the services there in the Levitt Auditorium when large crowds, some students and some activists from elsewhere came and decided to take over. And I never will forget Dr. Sparks and all of his dignity. He said, all right, it takes no brains to do what you people are doing. You can either stop it or I'll have you arrested. We're going to talk about issues and we're going to be respectful of each other. Don't let it happen again. And it didn't. I would have figured somebody would have knocked him in the head or something. That stopped it. And I told him, that's when I really got to know him. I told him, I said, that was a brilliant move. I was sitting in the back. I was headed out if anything happened. But he said, I was not going to put up with that. And I'm the president of this university, and I will not have it. And I really appreciated him for that, not just because he was stern and took over and the others finally left, but because I saw in him some leadership that I respected and appreciated. Well, I've seen many presidents come and go, as you have, through the years. I've gotten to know a few of them, not well. But in 2018, August of 2018, when Dr. Bob Jackson was selected to be the next president of Murray State. By the way, Tim Miller and I are good friends. He's been president 6 or 8 times, I think, in there. They finally gave him a number, and I was glad they did. But he's still a dear friend. But when Dr. Bob Jackson became the president, and I just commented over and over to different people about how thrilled I was and still am that he is in charge. And he, as has already been mentioned, he has carried this university through the last 2 years of brand new territory and has handled it so well. I have a grandson who's a student here now. He's a junior music major. And it's just amazing to see how well things have gone. It hasn't been smooth. Most of the classes have been online. It's hard to play your trombone online, but he did, and he still does if he has to. But he's doing really well and making good grades, and the faculty have handled it well. The administration, the staff, others who are involved have handled it so well. And much of that goes back to leadership. It's wonderful to have leadership, not dictatorial leadership, but leadership that you can follow because you respect the people. When I was a student here in the graduate school in communication, we studied a lot of things about Aristotle, Plato, Quintilian, Cicero, Protagoras, all of those people. Mostly philosophy, no actual speaking, but it was very enjoyable to me. But Aristotle said that persuasion has to do with ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos has to do with the character of the person, the integrity of the individual. If you know someone is a phony, someone is a crook, someone is a hypocrite, you don't listen as well to that person even if he or she's telling you the truth. That's ethos, character, integrity. Second, he talked about pathos. That has to do with passion. Are you in it? Do you really believe it? Is it something that is a part of you, or is it just a job? Most anybody can make a speech. But being passionate about what you're doing in the classroom, being passionate about what you're doing in life, and trying to put your heart into it so that you do what you do with your whole heart, that is what a persuasive person is going to be able to do and accomplish. And third was logos, which has to do with information. That's obviously where we get our word logic. And so we put into practice as a decent, respectable person on that study, whatever it is, with our whole hearts, we're passionate about it, and we have our information right. And we document it. You don't ever turn in a paper without proper documentation, and you don't steal it. You actually reference where you got it. And it's really difficult to get that over to some people. When you pay $60 for a book, looks like you ought to be able to use the information any way you want to. Well, okay, but somebody wrote it and somebody expects to be given credit for it. And so there are many teachers, and when I was teaching, I taught several semesters of basic speech. While I was a student, I was a graduate assistant. And then after I finished my degree, I went on and taught some more. And then after I retired 9 years ago from Glendale Church of Christ here in Murray, I came back and taught COM 161. And I did it for 3 years and thoroughly enjoyed it. Did a wedding ceremony for 2 of my students one night. Well, that's very unusual. But the others came, and it was a good event. We had other things. I bought them blizzards at Dairy Queen. I did that on the week before we had teacher evaluations. Shot right off the top. Did I mention ethos? It worked. But I really enjoyed it. Got to be friends with some of the students. Now, that's what you do when you enjoy what you're doing. I have a daughter who teaches high school math, and she gets discouraged easily because it's difficult, and some of her students are not bringing a lot of preparation to the room, and it's difficult for them, and she gets frustrated many times. And in fact, she talked to me a few years ago. It was a very serious, even emotional conversation. She said, I'm quitting. I'm not doing anything. I'm not getting anything accomplished. I have to have a police officer right outside the door. And she said, I just don't feel safe, and I don't feel that I'm accomplishing anything of great value. And I said, well, believe me, after this many years of preaching, I know a little bit about that feeling. Is anybody listening? Is it really doing any good at all? And I can't always tell. But I told her, I said, what I had to do and what I think you could do, and I know you're capable because I know you, put your heart into it in the sense that it's a passion with you, not a job. It's a passion with you because those people all have feelings and needs, and you don't always know what they are. You don't know what homes they're coming from, and some of them do not come from homes where they're encouraged at all. They're rising above their raisin, as they say, even when it is really not noticeable at the same time. And so she talked with me some more about it, and of course everything I say sounds like a sermon. I got through one night correcting her about something. She was 15 years old, accent on the teen, and I had corrected her about something, and after it's too long, way long speech, she was lying on her bed, on her stomach, and I'm sitting on the side of the bed, and she turned over and looked at me. She said, "Are you finished?" I said, "Yes, I think I'm finished." She said, "Just as I am without." So I didn't know whether to slap her off the bed or to laugh, and so I laughed. I did. I went downstairs. My wife said, "How'd it go?" I said, "Well, I wasn't sure what was going to happen there at the last, but I told her." She said, "What'd you do?" I said, "I laughed. Why don't you laugh? It's okay. Sermon was over finally." So I think Danny Evans is going to lead us in Just As I Am in just a few moments, but maybe not. But if it's a passion, put your heart into it, and if you can't put your heart into it, for crying out loud, don't do it. Leo Buscaglia, and I won't quote him because he uses some language I mustn't use, he said to teachers everywhere, if you do not love teaching and love your subject matter and love the students, stay out of the classroom until you can, and don't go back until you have figured that one out. And I believe that. Would you raise your hand if you have been a school teacher? God bless you. Bless you. I hope you see it as a calling, as a passion. No, it's not always fun, but it is wonderful. I have a fourth grade teacher who was by far the greatest female influence in my life. My mother was gone from the time of my birth until she died when I was 11, and I didn't miss her because I didn't have her. But my fourth grade teacher is one of the most powerful influences in my early life. She came over to see me about 10 years ago, and she was getting very feeble by that time. And she said, "I just wanted to tell you something." She said, "I want you to speak at my funeral." But she said, "I want you to know about your time in my classroom." She said, "I knew your mother was gone, and I knew your dad was in very difficult circumstances physically. They'd said he wouldn't live through the night on 2 different occasions. They'd said that. And she said, I just wanted to tell you that my husband and I had begun paperwork to see if we could adopt you." Well, you can imagine. I mean, I cried AT&T commercials, and I was pouring tears, and she was too. I said, "Miss Crosser, I've never heard of any kind of love that deep for a teacher and a student." She said, "Well, first of all, I'm not Mrs. Crosser anymore. I'm Hannah." I said, no, you're not. I can't blaspheme, and that would be blasphemy to me. You're Mrs. Crosser. But we talked on about it for a while, but she was a school teacher. She got a check every month from the state of Tennessee. And you could say, well, some people are teachers and some people are something else. What's the big deal? It's because you're involved in the lives and the hearts of people. And it's a passion. And if it's not, it ought to be. And with her, it was. It really was. I spoke at her funeral just a few years ago, and I told her daughters, who were born well after that, I said, I could have been your brother. I don't know how that would have worked out, but I was almost your brother. But school teachers and others, you're making a difference even if you don't know it. And see everybody out there as somebody made in the image of God, somebody who is special and precious. And even if that person is not the best student or the best looking or the most athletic, or whatever it is, see that person with feelings and needs and continue to do that as long as you live. And then last, that was past and present. I have to have an outline. Of course, past, present, now future. What do we do now? You say, well, I'm washed out now. I'm 70. I'm 74. I'm 75. I'll be 76 in January. What can I do? Well, there are a lot of things I can do. I can't do what I did at 50. There's several things I can't do. I'm still a member at the wellness club, and I do walk a little occasionally. But I don't walk at 3.6 and 3.8 and 4.0 miles per hour for 35 minutes. I did that at one time, but I don't do that anymore. It's okay. I can walk slowly in the right direction and still be making progress. It's okay. But when I was in high school, I had one teacher who really did not like me, and I don't blame her at all. I was a smart aleck. I don't blame her. I wouldn't have cared if she'd quit. But I didn't like her either, so we had really a mutual thing. And she, for punishment, not just for me, but for others, would require us to memorize poetry and to say it in front of the class. Well, I know every poem that's ever been written. You start it and I'll finish it. But one of the ones that I had to memorize, and I really now appreciate it. I just want to give you the first verse of it. Louisa Fletcher Tarkington wrote, I wish that there was some wonderful place called the land of beginning again, where all our mistakes and all our heartaches and all our poor selfish grief could be dropped like a shabby old coat at the door and never put on again. And it goes on and on and on. There is a place of beginning again. It's right now. And it can be for the rest of your life with a renewal every day. It's to learn anew, to practice better what you know, to be thoughtful of others, forgiving of others. Don't carry a grudge. Life is way too short for that. I had a fellow tell me, this is crazy. He came up to me before church. I was speaking at a rural congregation somewhere. He came up, he said, can you talk with me right after church? I said, yes. I always say yes. So I said yes. And so through the service, he was waiting around. Everybody went home. The janitor had locked the door, and he left him and me out there in the parking lot. And we're standing under a security light by my car. He said, I've hated you for 12 years. I thought, my wife, she never looks for me at home. She's never worried about me. And so nobody will find me till tomorrow, if then. He said, I've hated you for 12 years. And he said, that's long enough. I have come tonight to ask you to forgive me for hating you. I said, well, first of all, I didn't know you hated me, so I had no grudge. And I would appreciate knowing why. I won't deny it if I did it, but I said, I don't remember anything. So he told me some things that I had said that hurt his feelings, and he hadn't ever made correction of it, and I didn't know it. Honestly, I didn't. I said, well, I'll forgive you willingly with no problem if you'll forgive me for the original offense. He said, yes, I will. And he said, when I go home tonight, I'll be able to go to bed and go to sleep and not hate you. I said, I wish you'd come 12 years ago, but we can't unscramble eggs. We go from here. You can't go backward. But if there's a grudge, get rid of it. If you can solve the problem, solve it. If you can't solve the problem, swallow and go on. If it's not worth resolving, don't worry about it. And somebody might feel that way toward you, and you may feel that way toward somebody. Get it resolved. Start over new every day and enjoy the golden rule. If you've ever read some Dennis Waitley, Dr. Dennis Waitley, W-A-I-T-L-E-Y, some of the best material I've ever read. And in his book called The Psychology of Winning, it's a pretty good book, teaches you how to win. The sequel to that is The Psychology of the Double Win. And in that, he builds upon what he said on the first one. In that book, there are three categories of people: losers, winners, and double winners. The loser says, there's no way I can win. The winner says, I'll do everything I can to win. The double winner says, when I help you win, that's when I really win. And we're not talking about basketball. We're talking about the game of life. You don't let your opposing team win because they'd feel better. Your coach will be smart enough to catch that, I'm sure. But the thing we do in life is help other people have a better life, and we end up with a better life. Keep that in mind. Move forward. Enjoy everything that you can about being this age. Oh, I don't like the doctor's visits. My doctor told me not long ago, he said, John, it's birthdays. I said, did your mother send you to medical school for that? What you're saying is I'm old. He says, you are old. I said, well, I hope you get old. And I know that I'm about to be 76, and that's older than it's ever been for me. But I didn't think that all these things would be going on. He said, oh, there's lots more that'll go wrong with yours. He said, just get used to it. Okay, I'm getting used to it and trying to be patient about it. But I know that I can be thankful for everything good and very prayerful for what isn't good, that it will be worked for good and to my ultimate good and God's ultimate glory. So have a wonderful life starting now and enjoy it thoroughly, and remember Murray State with much, much fondness. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We appreciate that so much, all those great words. You know, it's funny, he was talking about getting older. I think that every year the 50th reunion class gets younger. You all look so young to me. You look great. You look fantastic. And I think that's maybe because I'm catching up with you. Does that have something to do with it? I think every year the 50-year class looks younger. So what we'll do now, thank you again, John. We appreciate it very much. I invite Katie Walker, who is our Associate Director of Alumni Relations, to join us as we get ready to call your names and give you your certificates as members of the Golden Class. As your name is called, I'll have you come forward to receive your certificate. We also have a memento tonight as a remembrance of your attendance this weekend. And I'll tell you a little bit more about these in just a minute. Let's first hand them out so we can all give you your certificates and show you our appreciation for being here tonight. We'll start with my new friend, Mildred Sue Whitworth Baggerly. Here you go. Come on up here, Sue. She goes by Sue. I had to call you Mildred, Sue. I just did. I had to do it to you. Next, we have Ann Ham Harris. Can you take that to her? Yes, thank you. Hello, Ann. Jerry Bain. Ford Branch. K Branch.
Y'all can make me get my steps in.
That's
It's
right.
fine. Wait,
Oh, I caught her at a bad time, didn't I?
I'm like, do we need to call her again?
Yes, we'll call her again. You said it right there. We'll embarrass her when she comes back. Gary Brummer. John Dale. Fred D. Giovanni. Danny Evans. He's coming this way, Katie. Don Fisher. Oh, that's right. Where's Kay? Kay Branch. You got to get your certificate. Go, Kay, go. Kathleen Madry Fisher. Kenneth Pete Galloway. John F. Hall. Sharon O'Donnell Hanson. Curtis Hart. Fred Herman. Sandra Garland Michael. James Morris. Suzanne Morris. Kenneth Morris. It's okay. Lee Riles. Oh gosh, don't do that again. Linda Ladd Townsend. Philip Vance.
Thank you.
Jan Jans. And Suzanne Jovic. Did I pronounce that right? A big round of applause for the classes of 1970 and 1971, our golden anniversary reunion class. Now, if you will all take a moment to look at your memento. Take a good look at it. Isn't it neat? There are several different layers to that memento. Those were built just for you by our students. Each year, we go to one of the engineering classes here at Murray State University, Dr. Rudy Otway's course, and we ask the engineering students to come up with an idea and then pitch it to us, and there's a competition to see which one we select. This is the winning entry this year. Who you'll see on the screen is one of its creators. It's a shadow box design by Allison Carr and Mason Fuller. This is Allison, who you see on the screen. She's a design engineering technology student, currently a sophomore, and will be graduating in December of 2023. She said designing this year's memento was a very fun and rewarding experience. Your 50th reunion is something to celebrate, so we wanted to design something unique and special for everyone attending this year. I want to thank not only the attendees, but also the Alumni Association for trusting us with this project and selecting our design. After graduation, I hope to work within the themed entertainment industry. I think Disney is what she said specifically a theme department or a theater design department. So that is Allison Carr. This is the class that's assembling them after their winning design was chosen, just for you. And then Mason Fuller was also part of this team. Mason Fuller is currently a junior majoring in design engineering technology here at Murray State. He said, "I'm honored to have been able to help design this year's memento for your 50th reunion. It was a very exciting process and was amazing to see it come together. In our design, we wanted to implement subtle things to tie in with Murray State and with your 50th reunion. I'd like to thank all the attendees and the Alumni Association for allowing us to have this opportunity. After graduation, he plans on working in the automotive industry designing parts for vehicles." So let's give them a big round of applause, Allison and Mason. Didn't they do a beautiful job? So class reunions couldn't take place without help from members of the class. So I want to personally thank all of you on the Golden Anniversary Planning Committee who helped put this weekend together with us, representing the classes of 1970 and 1971. They, along with Katie Payne and Joyce Whitney and several of our student workers here, have been instrumental in planning this weekend's activities. So I'd like you to give them a round of applause. If you were on the committee, please stand so we can see you. So you likely noticed in our presentation earlier this evening that we've recognized many of your friends, some of your oldest friends you've known for years and decades. Now, most of the men in this room were required to serve in the ROTC during their time on campus, and many went on to enter the military, some seeing action in places all across the world. So I'd like to take a moment and recognize all of you who have served this great nation and done so honorably. If you will please stand or wave if you're a member of the Armed Services for the United States, we'd like to recognize you. Thank you again for your service. Many of you in this room are also what we call legacies. A legacy is somebody who spreads the blue and gold love and passion down through the family for generations. So if you are someone who has a child or grandchildren who have or are attending Murray State, can I see a show of hands? That's wonderful. You all are passing on the Murray State tradition, and we want to thank you. The greatest gift an alumnus or alumna can give Murray State University is trusting us with their children and their grandchildren. So we want to thank you for doing that. So you're also tonight continuing that legacy for others. I'm pleased to announce that tonight your class gift, including pledges and money in hand, cash in hand, gifts received, your class gift totals more than $5,100. So congratulations. Who do you think is the winning class, 1970 or 1971? 71. I thought it might be that way. The actual winner is 1971 by only $216. So it was close, it really was. So that doesn't have to end here, of course. If you have just a heart for Murray State and our students, you can talk to any one of us about ways that you can help our future racers and our prospective racers have the great education that you've had. We hope that you'll have plans to continue the tradition with us throughout the weekend. Of course, the parade tomorrow. If you are planning to join us for the parade, you meet us at the Sid Easley Alumni Center in the morning. We'll have coffee and donuts starting at 8:30, and then we will leave promptly at 9 in the buses from the Alumni Center to the parade, where you will have VIP seating, and then you'll get a ride back. We're not going to leave you there. We're going to bring you back to the Alumni Center where your vehicle will await. From there, after the parade at 9:30, we will have Tent City, which starts at 10:30. If there is anyone that has like a mobility issue and has trouble getting through Tent City, of course it's grassy. It's a grassy area, so holler at us. We can help to bring a golf cart to get you at the gate, or make sure that you feel as accommodated as possible to participate in all of the day's activities. I hope that you've had a great day today. I hope your day tomorrow continues to be as successful. And I want to thank you again for returning to Murray State for this wonderful milestone. Who knows the Alma Mater? Anybody? Ooh, JP, I'm really tempted to pull you up here. JP is the development director for the College of Fine Arts and Humanities. He was responsible for a wonderful event last night called A Taste of the Arts. And we raised, JP, what, $37,000?
Yeah, it was
$37,000 last night. That was JP's event, did a wonderful job. Shall we sing?
Yes.
I'm going to let you kick it off.
Okay. Ready? In the heart of
Jackson's purchase, beneath the sun's warm glow, lives the home of Murray State, finest place we know. May we cherish thy traditions, hold thy banner high, ever guard thy name in glory, live to do or die. Yay!
switched into harmony there.
I know, I was like, why are you throwing into harmony, JP?
I was
was
a
with you.
concert choir, so I switched into
Yeah.
harmony.
We were with you. We had the melody. We were good. With that, I'd like to say again, thank you so much for attending tonight. Please let us know if you need anything throughout the weekend, and go Racers. Oh. Picture. Before everybody leaves, we need a picture.